What up? It's your boy, Nick Incredible, man. And yes, I am back at it again. And this is 911 Lone Star, Season 3, Episode 8, discussion slash review in the unlikely event of an emergency. I apologize for being late yet again, but oh my gosh, this episode was so good for TK. Let's talk about it, man.
Yo, fight until you make it, yo, don't think it, no, just take it. Don't wait for someone to break it, take control, then don't just take it. Hey, you can make it happen, you just gotta take some action. Take the ship and be the captain.
Normally, when I talk about 911 Lone Star, I always just start off, it was so good. It was a great episode. It was fantastic. All of that's true. But this episode was good for one person in particular, and that was TK. This episode highlighted so much depth with TK that we normally don't get throughout these past couple seasons, if I'm just being honest. A lot of the other characters had character development. We had episodes specifically driven for those characters to get that character development. We even had some character development for TK in those prior seasons, but nothing like we got in this episode. We see the relationship between him and his mom is pretty much TK's foundation, if you will, because we even go back and see that she's the one that got him into rehab when we knew that him and Owen had a connection, and we knew that, he pretty much stayed with his father when everything was going on, because, they have that whole similar, we're firefighters, we're first responders thing going on. But we see that his mom is the one that really helped him in his time of need when he was going through that rough patch of being addicted. And like, their connection is just so good. Like, we didn't get much between him and his mom in those brief instances with the flashback, but the little bit that we did get was enough to satiate my palate, because it was just that good. Her going down there, getting TK when she found him in the crack house or heroin house or whatever kind of house it was, when she found him, when she went there and found him, took him out to eat, telling him that, oh, he's gonna get better. And well, he mentioned all of this stuff about, hey, I've never been late to shift, I've never messed up, I've never done anything. You can ask everybody, but the fact that you're still addicted and you're still doing drugs, that's a big thing, TK. And she didn't want to hear none of it. She just straight shut it down. But we see that this episode, TK is dealing with the fact that she's not there anymore. We knew that him and his mom had a real close relationship when we see that, when he was suffering from hypothermia, that, he had built this whole dreamscape of just him and his mom. But we see why that connection was so deep, why it was so intense this episode. And I'm gonna be 100%, man. I mean, I'm the same way, man. I love my mama. I love my mama, man. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. It's, I know you love your parents and your fathers and everything like that, but it's just something about mamas, man. I mean, like, I'll fight a big dude that I know I'm gonna lose for my mama, man. Like, dude could be like 7 feet, 450 pounds, and he got a sledgehammer. I'm gonna lose this fight, but I'ma still fight him for my mama, man. That's just how deep it is, man. And that same instance goes for TK, and we see that throughout this entire episode. We see when she gets him on the plane, takes him to rehab. Even at the end of the episode, we see how she told him that she can't be there for him when he goes to rehab. He has to want it and take that first step himself. And we see that the flashback kind of coincides with everything that's taking place in the present, because we see that TK is almost relapses a little bit until Owen catches him. He kind of put Nancy in an awkward position this episode, but we see the flashback kind of parallels a little bit with everything that's going on when he's kind of reminiscing of his mom saving him for the first time with his addiction, and the fact that he almost relapsed again with his mom, with her passing. Now, the best part of this episode for me, like the highlight and the most heartbreaking part, was that opening scene where the caller is taking place. It's something about, like, whether you're reading a novel, because I read novels. And if you don't know this, I have like an anime channel. I read manga and all the other type stuff, and comics and everything. Like, when you get a visual picture, there's something there. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to imagine anything like that. They're already telling you what you're going to see, and then you get words put along with it. But like, once you just hear something, or if you're just reading a novel yourself and you got to try to picture it yourself, like, because that's all we got this episode in the very beginning, finding out about her death. Like, we didn't get anything visual, and I feel like it sold it so much more with the guy calling 911 and then telling them that, hey, this lady, I hit her with my bike, and like, it made it so much more vivid. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's not a weird dynamic for you guys, I hope not. But like it made it so much more vivid than actually if we would have actually saw it. Like us hearing about the details and the dude kind of going through like his whole traumatic experience and then finding out about the baby and everything, that painted a better picture than I think it would have if we actually saw a picture. So like this whole episode was just fantastic. Then we get to the part in the present where they're on the plane and the plane just loses an engine and TK has to save this lady, and that kind of reassures himself of everything that he's doing, you know, like, hey, I won't be able to make it to see my mom today because we got to deal with the plane and everything, and they got to turn back and go back and land, but I can help this lady. And the fact that he helped this lady was just fantastic, and that he didn't give up his sobriety, and the fact that he told Owen about him almost taking the fentanyl. TK really stepped up in this episode for me. Normally, like a lot of times, I always say that, you know, well, you know, TK survives pretty much everything. Like TK's been shot, he's been caught in frozen water. He's almost died like 3 or 4 times, but he's always survived. But this is something that could have literally really crushed TK. That being the death of his mom, this could have literally crushed TK, but he came out on the other side of it. And I feel like this episode was really, really good. And I know Owen normally steals the spotlight, but this episode, Owen took a backseat to TK. And I'm sad to see Lisa Edelstein go because I loved her, but her leaving gave a lot of room for TK's character development, and I just want to see where he goes from here now that he doesn't have his mom as his foundation anymore. He's becoming his own foundation. This episode was great. I just loved it. I love seeing everybody kind of come together for TK and everything. It was a wonderful aspect. We see that Grace kind of took the lead and sent the flowers to his mom and everything. And I never knew that about Jewish tradition. I never knew that. So that was something that I learned about this episode, which was nice. And I love learning things. I love learning things. And that was something that I learned that I really, really enjoyed this episode. Overall, like I said, it was a nice episode. We got to meet the nice little lady that they sat with on the plane. She was nice. She was cool. You know, she just all of a sudden started talking to herself. But you know what? I feel like we need more of that in the world today. You know, people that just spark up conversation with people for no reason. I mean, we're going to be on this plane for a couple of hours. We might as well at least enjoy each other's company. You know, I felt like it's not something that we needed, but we got it, and I wasn't mad at it in the least, man. Overall, the episode was great. I loved it, and I can't wait to see how TK goes from here. And I can't wait to see where he goes from here, because he's not solely dependent on his mother anymore because she's no longer here. He has to do it for himself and want it for himself. And I really, really enjoyed that, man. And I don't know how true it is, but we see that Mateo and Nancy were kind of holding hands. I don't see anything possibly coming out of it, but I will say they kind of held hands a little longer than they necessarily needed to. So maybe. This is your boy Nick Incredible, man. Don't forget to smash like button. You can't smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.
I cannot complain.